All right. Today we're going to be doing a Highlander Pyro map review for the map Product. This is, I think, week 6 in RGL Highlander, like season 21, something like that. Just gonna go over, the basics, the mids, the pushes, the kites, the Ubers, etc., etc. Just kind of show you the basics of how to play this map on Pyro. All right, let's get started with the mid. Generally speaking, you just kind of roll out through main here with your team. Your demo is either going to go through main or through valley, depending on how he likes to jump. I generally try to go with him. Doesn't matter too much. I just like being, just in case you might have an opportunity to reflect spam. Like say you're walking through main with your demo, there might be a pipe, there might be like a guillotine, something. You can always reflect that at the start. Just protect your team on the mid. But yeah, I usually try to stick with my demo on the mids, and then your team is generally going to want to pick a side based on where the other sniper is playing, for where they want to walk. If the enemy sniper is playing on cliff, you want to walk left. If the enemy sniper is playing on concrete, you want to walk right. Pretty simple. As with every Koth map and really every map in the game, you want to use the geometry of the map to position yourself to be out of sniper sight lines while you take fights as much as possible. This is a pretty good map for spamming debts on snipers, which I guess I should mention. I generally run det on this map. I know Spring Rolls runs shotgun. I think that's good as well. But I think you're going to find the traps on this map are like very, very oppressive. And without det to clear them, it's going to be it slows your team's ability to like get through chokes down pretty considerably. So that's kind of why I run det on this map. It seems pretty essential to me, though. I used to run like flares on this map a lot. It was a lot of fun. I've run shotgun on this map. Like it's all good. But yeah, det, in my opinion. So, like I said, at the start of a round, your demo is going to pick where to walk on mid. Say he wants to walk right, you're basically going to be like walking up with him, making sure you're avoiding sniper sight lines, and reflecting spam, making sure people don't get through and just kind of like run over your team. It's less effective than something like Astro, where you can kind of like shut a demo out of mid basically completely. But you can make sure your team's not getting like run over. Make sure you have space. You don't want to feed on mid as much as you can, because you're going to be facing a lot of pressure from pretty much every like major threat that Pyros consistently have to deal with, kind of like at all points in time on this map. It's a really fast map. It's a really close quarters map in a lot of ways. So you're kind of gonna be put under the most pressure out of really any map in Highlander to kind of do all of your jobs well. So regardless of which side you walk, you should generally expect that the soldier's going to bomb and get behind you. That's usually his goal. Sometimes they'll bomb directly on you and you can just, reflect kill him easy, no problem. But a lot of times the soldier is going to be like jumping off this wall and then like landing on your china, like jumping over the rocks and landing on cliff, or even just like landing on your grass and like looking to bomb back in later. There's a couple choices you can make when the soldier does this, and this is true on pretty much any Koth map, any situation like really where you have people can be behind you that aren't just like the spy, and you either need to walk, take space, kill the people that are in front of you, and then be ready for the soldier, the spy, whoever to come back in afterwards, or fall back and deal with the threat that's behind you and give up the space. Generally on mids, it's probably better to just commit, take the space, fight as much as you can. And ideally, you do that. The soldier's like getting your cliff pack or whatever, or like getting the pack on grass. You reflect a couple more things, walk in here, kill their demo, and maybe their scout gets sniped or something. And now you have the space to turn around for this guy to like bomb back in while the rest of your team walks forward. It's really a game of like, not whack-a-mole exactly, but you really have to like thread the needle between the threats, because there's always going to be another one right away. They're all trying to get in at the same time. They're all trying to like put as much pressure on you at the same time as they can. So if you can find little moments where one is slightly out of sync with the other, or you can handle one while the other is not an immediate threat, you're going to kind of make your life a lot easier, make your team's life a lot easier. And that's kind of that's the way you have to play Product Pyro, at least in my opinion. And it's very hard, quite frankly. It is a big challenge to do because any micro mistake, any second wasted can very easily turn into you dead, your team dead, and it's all classes that you're supposed to be dealing with. So, like I said, say you've dealt with, you've won this fight here. The soldier's going to be bombing back in. You immediately are turning around worried about that, making sure your med doesn't die. And then the other thing you're going to have to be worried about is spy. This is another reason why walking is good, because it takes you further away from the fast spy decloak spots that are like really nasty to deal with. As on mids and in general, spies have a ton of maneuverability and a ton of nasty decloak spots on this map. Spy can decloak here quickly. Spy can decloak in your main quickly. You can do jumps to get up here and then decloak quickly. Spy can cross, over your dog bread and be like jumping up here and going for like decloaks here, or like dropping off China, or just trying to stab your sniper up here. That's not really your problem. That's mostly your NG, but yeah, tons of options for spy on top of just going to your spawn and getting telly. And you can't really chase him very far on this map because everything is like a nasty corner that is, he can easily get around and like get away and waste your time. So it's just like yet another factor that you're going to have to be worried about kind of constantly on this map and juggling like one by one. If you do this quickly and then turn around and deal with reflect one rocket on this guy and he's still alive and in the air, you want to be looking for this guy because this guy's walking in like immediately. And then you get your like second of downtime while they respawn. But yeah, so say all that goes well and you win the mid. Good job. Yippee. There's kind of two things that your team can decide between. One is to kind of hold on point, which you kind of rotate based on where the sniper's called. You want to play around your demo and just have good vision, basically. If the sniper's going valley, cool, you play over here. If the sniper's going main, cool, you play over here, et cetera, et cetera. And you just want to make sure you're in a position to be reflecting spam and meeting them and worried about spy. Soldier's going to be coming in from in front of you, obviously, so you can at least have a good gauge on where he's going to be. Usually he's going to be bombing over, like trying to get behind or like get on you during the fight. Same with the spy walking in. Something that you can do on this map that is really useful is, one, if you know spy's behind you already, and like say your sniper's playing like over here or something, you're on det, you can very easily just like shoot a det like over here, do a lot of spy checking with det, just break the spy's knife over and over again. Is really, really nice. And say you're behind rock for whatever reason, and you see spy up here and he's on spy circle, bam, cool, you break that guy's knife, you call where he is, he's not your problem anymore for the next 10 seconds, unless he decides he wants to jump off this cliff and then like start point blank revolvering people. That guy's outside your range. You need your soldier, your scout, your NG basically to deal with that guy, and it buys you the time to focus on the other two threats. So yeah, spy checking with det is really good. Breaking spy cycle over and over again is really good. I cannot tell you how many times I've saved my sniper's life who's like playing like here because I just like decided to shoot a det here right as the spy decided to decloak and walk in, and my sniper can just turn around and like melee that guy because he has no knife or something. The other thing that is really good on this map, it's good on mids, it's good anytime the spy is crossing, is most of the time the spy is going to be on stock. Sometimes DR, very rarely cloak and dagger. So if he's on stock, there's a ton of ammo packs on the crosses of this map that the spy is really going to want to pick up because the crosses aren't short to get to the next ammo pack. So worrying about this dog bread ammo pack is really good, and worrying about these two concrete ammo packs is really good. And even if you just see like ammo packs disappearing from like dead players during cross times on point. Because yeah, spies are very frequently going to take this. They're very frequently going to take this. You can very easily be like playing here and see this pack disappear and then immediately deal with this guy, free kill. If you're playing over here, up here, and you see like this pack disappear, easily break this guy's knife, tell you're having to deal with it, and you just get tons and tons of free spy kills out of it. It's really, really essential to have good spy tracking on this map because the crosses are quite easy to deal with despite kind of how they look. Because you can really easily predict where the spy is going to be based on where your team is playing. really only a couple places you can cross, and it's a pretty small map, so you can kind of cover it pretty well. So, for example, like I mentioned, spy checking with Det. Say you're playing on the left side, cool, it's cross time. I'm playing here, my demo's playing here, my medic's playing like back here, whatever. The spy's not going to cross here most likely because it's a really scary cross, right? It's got to get through all these people. You still want to check it, like, okay, it's cross time, cool, check it, done. And then my heavy's in con and my soldiers like on this box or something, right? So the most likely place the spy is going to cross is right here. You can easily just start shooting these debts. You can shoot some fire depending on where if you know snipers location. You can take that risk if you want, but otherwise you can very easily just bam, shoot these debts. Make it really hard for this guy to cross. Shoot him at random. You can also shoot the chokes very nicely. If spy is crossing in either of these directions, you just cover a ton of space to do spy. Like have good spy checking, check the cross, and then once he's behind you, you kind of got to juggle a little bit depending on where you're playing. It's a little easier to juggle this way, but sniper's a little scarier if you're in this direction. But there's less places the spy can walk in. This corner is really nasty. I really hate this corner when I'm playing in Dogbred or even just Cliff, because a lot of times your medic will be playing like this or something, and it's just like such a short window to react to, and you don't want to give up this space yourself because you really need to be in the front with your demo. So that's tough. It's really helpful if your scout's here for that. Then it gives you a little more freedom to kind of look where you want to. Anyways, we've gone on a long tangent from what I originally started with here, but that's the point hold. Generally, you just want to meet them, get ready for them to walk in and either take an Uber exchange, try to stuff them at the point, or if you have disad, leave, basically. If on the mid or after any fight, you kind of wipe their whole team, get most of their important classes and they're hiding in spawn, you can take the forward hold. The forward hold, generally speaking, you have a heavy like here. You have people spotting like your spy, scout, or probably like spotting Cliff. Your sniper's usually playing on like grass with the NG, and you're playing with like your demo and medic around here. And then you play to stuff this. You're in a fast rotation to stuff this if they come here immediately as well. And then you have your spotters for Cliff, where you have your demo rotate over and then you stuff them actually in the Cliff door. Your job here is pretty much just to make sure the spy doesn't get through, make sure the soldier doesn't get through, and like hit you guys with like, make sure the soldier, doesn't just like jump out of here and then like somehow land on you and kill your med. Like that's very bad, obviously. It's usually pretty rare. It's mostly just spy control. So understanding where spy is going into this and then keeping a good eye out, making sure nothing bad happens, and then rotating with your demo, So, might check here, check over here, might like check up here, might be worried about up here. Okay, we're rotating towards Cliff. Okay, make sure spy's not here. Make sure we're not getting dropped on, get ready to stuff this. But yeah, generally your job in the forward hold is realistically just to hang out. Make sure people don't get in on your combo. Make sure your demo has the freedom to walk over here and just start stuffing this choke and kill everyone. Because yeah, what you normally do, either you take an Uber or you just hard stuff this, kill as many people as possible, and then leave up their valley or reset into the forward hold again. If you live with their valley, ideally you're resetting into the normal point hold and not like all wiping and having to die. But do be very cautious of spies and such as you're rotating in and out of these holds, because these are the transition periods, like I've mentioned on many other maps. If you're rotating out of main to the normal point hold, it's like, okay, where is spy? What corner is he waiting around to walk in from? So be very wary of that. Okay, that is point, forward hold. I need to do Ubers, kiting, and retaking point. Okay. Let's do kiting, and then we'll do retaking point, and then Ubers, I suppose. So say you lose point, say your demo gets sniped, your scout loses a 1v1, your heavy's dead, right? You kind of start having to give up the space. You can't just like stay here with your pyro and your medic, right? So generally speaking, the best way to kite out on this map and what your medic's going to want to do specifically is, kind of come through these doors and get the hell out here. Try to get out main as quick as possible. Your job in this situation is going to be to go with your medic and make sure he doesn't get stabbed, make sure he doesn't get bombed, because usually the spy is going to be looking to go in. Usually the soldier's going to be trying to land on you. So you have to kind of juggle both at once as you're getting out and make sure your medic gets to spawn. And do not, if you know Spy's behind you, don't let your guard down and spawn. There's tons of places Spy can be hiding here. Spies will all the time be like hanging out and spawn looking for picks. So make sure once you get your med in here, you are worried about Spy. You can easily spy check with Det around these areas. Try to spy check in multiple places at once with single dets. You know, say Spy is, you know, standing up. Oh, can you not? You have to walk it. Huh. Guess you do. You can't jump that way. Anyways, say Spy is standing here spotting, right? What you can do is be like shooting a det that crosses that, and then, you know, like actually pops back here somewhere, and then you're spy checking both at once. You know, stuff like that. Same with, I imagine you can stand up here. Yeah. So if you shoot dets right here, you know. Same concept, generally. Be wary. Sometimes spies will be like trying to go for like trick stabs like here. So be worried about this corner before this corner, because this is the dangerous one. Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing for kiting. Try not to kite main. Try not to hang out in main as much as possible. This is like a death trap. It's just like a really tiny area. Lots of explosions. Very spooky. And try not to, same with trying to kite out your cliff. Getting to cliff seems like safe and easy, right? But actually, once you're here, this is like a brutal like place to pinch from, because Spy can literally body block this door, and they can very easily bomb into here and just like kind of kill you. It's another death trap. So generally try to leave main if you can. Obviously, you know, there are situations where you need to leave in other directions, or you're closest to main and need to get out quickly, like this main. But yeah, that's the general default, generally what you want to try to be doing, and just make sure your med is with you. Because if personally, like if you see your med like doing like rolling out here for no, or like leaving here for no reason a bunch, I would just like tell that guy to stop doing that and not go with him. But like I said, it's always situational. So sometimes the safest place for your med to leave is a place that is not common. Okay, all right, let's do like taking point and Ubers, and I think that'll be about it. All right, so say you lost point, you're trying to retake point, and we'll start dry and then do an Uber point push. Generally speaking, you're going to end up getting to around behind house, and your demo is going to make a decision of where he wants to walk. Ideally, your demo makes this decision and starts going as quickly as possible, because the spy is going to be behind trying to calm where you're coming from. So you want to get in as fast as you can, basically, once you decide to go, because these chokes are really easy to stuff and they're really scary. So you want to be checking your corners, obviously, on your way out. Spy can be here. You know, Spy can obviously be in these corners. I always check this corner. And then generally speaking, if we're AFKing for a while, or like just waiting to take a push, you know, say we're like 90% Uber and we just want to get before we push, this is kind of the area I'll hang out in, because it lets you kind of see everything. It doesn't really matter which side you're in as long as you're not getting sniped, but clear this area out. And then this allows you to easily see soldiers bombing. And it allows you to see Spy looking to go for drop stabs. It gives you a place to spy check from pretty easily. You know, Spy can be in all these corners and these boxes, yada, yada, yada. You're pretty much close enough when your demo is ready to make a decision to set your team up to go. Because obviously there's basically only two places to get in from, even if you roll out from like cliff or something. So what your job becomes is basically to get in first and get your team through chokes safely, because very, very commonly there's going to be traps here and there's going to be traps here. Sometimes you see them on rocks, like wedged in here on the other side of the sign. You know, there's tons of other places traps can be, but these are the two traps that stop you from being able to actually push and get to point to even start taking the fight. So you have to preemptively clear them literally every time you walk through the door. You know, if your demo calls to go main, your job is to hit this and then be through the door, reflecting spam, getting it wherever he wants to go. If you're going right, going left, whatever. But you have to clear this every time and then be in reflecting. If you hang out here and then like take your dad out and then reflect, and your demo's already like walking through with your scout, your demo's like getting piped, they're getting stuffed. And like there's more sticks and pipes and stuff landing here, making it impossible for your team to get out. So you need to do both. You have to just pull this out, do on the run, and go. Less important to do that this, or at least to be first in, you can kind of know you're coming this way and then get a preemptive death that hits here. And you don't have to be as aggressively through the choke, because other than this trap, this is not nearly as like an oppressive doorway for explosives. But you still want to be in front. You still want to be, you know, taking the space and reflecting spam and stuff. But yeah, that is super important. Preemptively clear these. And then especially if you're coming out this side, definitely look for traps here, and look for traps here and here. Even here, sometimes I've seen traps. But, you know, keep an eye out. You don't need to preemptively clear them nearly as much. Maybe if you get out here, you know, say you clear this and then you look over here and see there's no traps there, maybe you drop a preemptive det over the sign. Because it's kind of the next most likely place I would say they're going to be. But demos can get all sorts of weird and freaky with how they place traps. So just keep an eye out. Those are the two most important ones. And then, yeah, your job is to, in a dry fight, your job is to just commit through, be the front line, reflect the spam, make sure, you know, people aren't getting like stabbed as they walk in, you know, look up as you can here, make sure there's a soldier not bombing in, et cetera, you know, normal pyro things. If it is an Uber instead of a dry fight, generally speaking, it's going to be your scout demo. I've said it before on other maps. Scout is better in offensive Uber, and Pyro is better in defensive Ubers, generally speaking. So same kind of concept. You want to like get your team through the choke safely, but you don't need to commit through the choke, generally speaking. You just want to make sure, if possible, that your med doesn't have to pop like here or like all the way back here. You know, if they can get a little bit further because you're making it safer for them, that's good. You also just don't want to risk them dropping if they aren't popping immediately. So, you know, generally, you want to get this, you know, say they're going through main, they start taking the fight. I might, you know, come over here and help my heavy if something's happening here. Or I might, you know, if my sniper's trying to peek valley, I'll like default to my sniper. And then as the Uber fades, you want to get up with your team wherever they are and play like any other post fight would be, where you're committing, reflecting spam, worrying about all the spy, soldier, all the normal threats based on the game state, based on who's still alive. Pretty much it for like offensive Ubers taking point. Something that does happen actually pretty frequently that I should mention is you getting forward holded instead of being the one doing the forward holding. Usually what happens here is your team is going to want to push out of one of the two chokes and just commit out and force them to leave, kill as many people as possible. So it doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to live. You just have to do it, basically. Most commonly, it's going to be out of cliff spawn. When you're here, you want to be worried about spy, because spy can be in like all these little like freaky corners. I think you can, I think it's like just that kind of jump. You can like get up here. Yeah. Can he stand higher this? No. But yeah, so spy is definitely like clear out for spy around here. Make sure he's not left and right as you walk out, and then be worried about soldiers bombing in as well. You also might have to worry about doubling back and seeing, spies might, you know, say you missed him, say he was, you know, sitting here or something, you didn't spy check it, you know, spy might be immediately walking in behind you, so be wary of that. But yeah, generally speaking, like I said, you get out the choke, and then what will usually happen, because like say you force them to fall back, right, they're not forwarding anymore, they're point holding, and now you want to take like the Uber. What you would do is you would walk over this and then drop here and then take it. Again, you want to be clearing that on the way. But this way you can take the Uber from as close to the point as possible without having to like cross the sniper sight line and like pop here, right? Because otherwise, you know, they're literally watching this, because that's where, you know, they know you're all coming out there. So the sniper's like holding this, and you'd be forced to use like immediately here, where if you cross this way and then land here, you get all the way up to here. Technically, if the sniper's usually playing on grass, so he's probably like on boxes or right side point somewhere, you can get a lot more space before you have to use. So that's generally the thought process there. Real quick, I'll mention before I go over breaking grass side, if you go that way, spies can stand on these windows, so be wary of it. You can stand on both sills, I think, so yeah. You can easily just, if you want to, you can shoot a death that pops like right in the middle and kind of hits all of it. But it's very rare, to be honest, that spies are actually on it. But it's good to know about, good to check sometimes. Because it's always good to mix up your deaths and just kind of shoot places you haven't checked before, and kind of do it a little bit at random, so the spy is like not just comfortable finding like an opening somewhere that you never check. Same with this, you can sit on top of main. Spy can just hang out up here. So yeah. Again, not super common, but something to think about. Now, like I said, pushing grass spawn. If they're forward holding, again, a lot of times it ends up being your job to just run in, clear this, make sure there's not like close traps or something. And then just like, I will literally just like get out the choke. Like maybe I'll like get here, air blast the heavy off the corner, and then just like do what I can. Because obviously you're never winning this, and the heavy is now like in this awkward, like no cover position that he has to kind of like reposition to deal with. And then I like honestly just die. Like you to be like, that's kind of what happens when you take this push. You get out here, you get the space for your team, you do what you can, live as long as possible while still fighting and taking the space and putting pressure on them. Die, and then your team can kill the rest, and then you respawn and then take like a good fight. Very common. Okay, now back to point. Say you've done that. You've taken point, dry, Uber, whatever, and now you're holding point again, and you have Uber. It's going to be an Uber exchange. Generally speaking, like I mentioned before, you're going to be wanting to play to like meet them wherever they push, whether they push Valley or main, and then it can be a scout demo. It can be a pyro demo. It kind of depends on where, and if you're trying to like take it into them to meet them, or if you're just trying to like defensively hold the point and like air blast people off and hold space. If you're just trying to hold the space, being on point and just air blasting people away, totally fine. That's kind of usually what I end up doing if I end up being in Uber, because you can't really chase super far unless your whole team really wants to commit. Like there are some situations where I've like taken a flash and like jumped up here and then like landed here and then just like held M1. Like you can do stuff like that. If you're being really coordinated with your team and just kind of collapsing together. But I wouldn't say that's like the default for Pyro, but it's something you can have in your back pocket. I don't know if I've mentioned it in a video before, but I think it's really important to be able to do not necessarily everything the best on Pyro, but you should be able to kind of play Pyro in all of the different effective ways so that you can pull that out in whatever situation you need to. At least at a competent level. You want to be able to be aggressive and like run it down and just like hold M1. You want to be able to have like solid DM and like be able to use a shotgun and know how to play corners and fight people when you need to. You want to know when you need to just stuff things and die for your team. You want to know when it's really good to just like literally hide it up and spy check because you have the space to do it. You want to be able to pull all these things out when you have the opportunity to have as much knowledge as you can. Yeah, this is a map that when I am super aggressive on occasion, it is super strong. I've played in mids where like I will literally like walk out on mid and just like do this into their main. It's very rare. I've done it. I can probably count on my fingers the number of times I've done that on this map, but it can be really good. But yeah, anyways, as usual with Ubers, if you're not in them, usually this is when I would get with my sniper. This is a great point, a map for that. And then just get back with your team, business as usual, spy check, deny soldier, yada yada. You know the drill. I think that is about it then. We have pushing, defending, Ubers, forward holding, breaking forward holds, mids. I feel like I mentioned one more thing earlier, but I might not have. Yeah, it's not ringing a bell. Maybe I'll rewatch the video and feel like an idiot later. And you can tell me if I am in the comments, I guess. But yeah, I think that's about it for product. Like I say, there's a lot going on this map. It's really fast. It's really punishing anytime you make small mistakes. So yeah, do your best, get time and experience in the map. You will improve at it and get more comfortable with it over time. Play Pugs. It's like one of the only maps that gets played in Pugs. So you can get okay enough practice to at least get comfortable with the pace of the map on it. But yeah, like I said, as always, if you have any questions, you feel like I missed something or anything you want to add, feel free to leave a comment, reach out, whatever. And yeah, good luck on product.